Hi fellow crocheters, it's Jan with Jack and Jan. Thanks for stopping by today. I'm going to talk about this really cool stitch. It's so simple, but yet it produces this really nice rich texture. And we use it in our Petoskey Messy Bun hat. And what this is a crossover half double crochet. Now this stitch can be worked both flat, or it can be worked in the round. So either way, it produces this really nice stitch, and we're going to go over it right now. I'm working it in flat, but when you're working it in a hat, it's worked in the round. So when you work it in the round, you don't have to chain two at the end of each row, obviously. But we're going to just get started. Okay, so I'm at the first part of the row, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate it. Even though I'm not working in the round here, I'm going to demonstrate it as I would be on this row, because again, in the round you're not chaining two. So what you do is you've got your first half double crochet, which is right here, and your next half double crochet, which is right here. And just for your information, this is just 10 half double crochets. I chained 11, went into the second chain from the hook, and made 10 half double crochets. So we've got an even number here. All right, so we're going to skip over this first one, and then we're just going to half double into the second one. Now we're going to half double, we're going to go back. It's not hard, it's not like a cable or anything like that, although it does raise it like a cable, but it's not as difficult as cabling. Or let's not use the word difficult, let's just use the word challenging. So we're going to go half double back into the half double crochet that we skipped. Okay, see? And now you can see that crossover starting to form. It's really nice. Okay, now here's what we're going to do. Now this is where you have to really pay attention, okay? You see that crossover right there? It's important to not pull this really tight. Sometimes I tend to either crochet too loosely or too tightly, so you just really want to watch what you're doing, and you want this to be comfortable because you need to see where the crossover forms. Okay, so we've used this stitch and we've used this stitch, so we need to skip the next stitch and then half double into the following stitch. So we've skipped a stitch, you can see right there that's the stitch that we skipped, and now we're going to just half double back into that stitch. So while you're doing is you're maintaining the same amount of stitches that you started with. In other words, there's always going to be 10 stitches on this particular swatch, but you are just skipping one and then going back. So you're not losing or gaining or decreasing or increasing in any way. So let's keep going, and here we've got our crossover. See, there's our crossover, so we've used those two stitches. So we just need to find the next stitch, skip it, and then go to the following stitch and half double crochet, and then go back into that stitch that we skipped. Now let's take a look at our work and see what we've got. So we've got some really nice, that first two chain two was our first stitch, so we've got some nice crossovers going here. All right, let's just keep going. We're going to skip that stitch and we're going to half double into the next stitch, and then we're going to go back to the stitch that we skipped and half double again. Oops, got caught a little bit there. Okay, now I've got my crossover right there, so I've worked this stitch and this stitch, so I need to skip, and I'm going to go into the last stitch, and then I'm going to go back, okay, and I'm at the end of my row. Now let's do it again, just so that I'm sure everybody gets it, and I would like you to see what it looks like on top of each other. Okay, so let's chain two, because we're working flat, and we will have some projects where we work this stitch flat, but just for right now, again, we do work it in the round. Okay, so here's our first. We're gonna skip that one, and we're gonna go into the second one. Okay, just like before, and then we're going to half double back into that first one so that we don't lose a stitch. Okay, there's our crossover. See, it's crossing over right on top, and because we're on the different row, the crossover does look a little different on this side, so it's really kind of cool. And if this was a hat, then we would use this side. Okay, so we're in the second stitch now. We've crossed over. We're going to skip a stitch. We're ready to do that again, and then we're going to half double into the next, and then half double in the stitch that we skipped. Now I'm going to go a little faster so you feel comfortable with this. Skip a stitch, go into the next half double, and make another half double, and then just go back into the stitch that you skipped and do a half double, and see how nice this is becoming. I think it's so pretty, and it's just really a simple stitch, but it's got a really nice texture to it. Okay, let's skip a stitch, and then we're going to go back into that stitch, and we're just doing half double crocheters. That's all we're doing, nothing else, just half double. It's really a super simple pattern. Okay, now here's our chain, so that means that we're in the last stitch. So we're going to go ahead and we're just going to half double into that. Now make sure that you're not pulling this too tight, otherwise your row will get wonky. Okay, alright, so back into the stitch that you skipped. You just did your crossover, and you can chain 2 and go again. Now I want to just give you a little piece of advice on this. When we work this in flat, the way that we're doing here, okay, in rows, what you might want to do, just to keep your stitch looking, your piece looking square, go ahead and make this last half double crochet of the row into the top of the chain. Instead of going into the stitch itself, the half double, just go ahead and go right into that chain, and you'll still have the same amount of stitches, but see how that pulled it over? And then that way you're not losing the pattern. That's a piece of advice. And if we do crochet this flat, when we get a pattern or a piece that we've done with this particular stitch, crocheting it flat, then I will cover that technique again, because you do want it to lay flat and you want it to be squared. But this is the crossover half double crochet stitched, and again we've done this flat. In a hat, you just keep going and around. You don't slip stitch to join in the particular project that we use this for, our messy bun hat, so no worries there. Okay, fellow crocheters, as always, if you have any questions about any of our videos or any of our pieces, please feel free to contact us at info@jackandjan.com. We want you to crochet. Have a great day.